Greetings, Pansars and Pariahs. I have already made a video covering the basics of combat in Symbaroum, but I didn't really get into the nitty gritty of what combat looks like. For that, I wanted to show a practical example of something that actually happened in my last game, with a few details added and removed for dramatics, of course. And for this example, we are actually going to leave this little space with my dragon face and we are going to go to the real world. So I have my Symbaroum table all set up with everything we need, minus 5 players, of course. This is a dramatic recreation of actual events. And for today, we will be keeping things simple, so I'm actually setting aside our Advanced Player's Guide and our Monster Codex. Everything we need is going to come from the core rulebook. First big thing we notice is our map. Now, I have a lot of these pre-printed Pathfinder maps. They're really nice quality, lots of different vibes going on with the different environments they show, and they're all wet erased, so I can add details as I need. But for Symbaroum, I don't really like the grid. We want to feel open with our movements. So my wet erase vinyl mat is not going to work either. I'm going to opt for a simple dry erase board. So I drew up a quick little map based on the art that the players chose for their path. We've got just a couple of big trees here. We've got our little walkway going over a creek, and this will be kind of our rough terrain that our characters might not want to go into. Now, this works, especially for Symbaroum's more simple movement style, but I wanted to add a little more spice, so I handed each player a little bit of set dressing. Somebody made a bridge over our broken walkway over the creek here. Somebody put another one over this way. I had this magical whirlpool thing, which just drew my eye, and somebody put it over here, so I might make something out of that. Somebody saw this fire, and they put it off the trail. And finally, we have a chest, which somebody put up in this tree. Now we need some minis, so I am going to open up my box and see what I got inside. Okay, and I picked out some good ones. So let's actually take a look at our player characters. Now, I don't have everybody's character sheets, but I have my own little DM notes on what everybody has going on. So we've got Gadramon, he's kind of our archer. Now he's got marksman, leader, acrobatics, lay on hands, and witchcraft. We've got Mira, she's our thief. She has Shapeshifter 2 as a changeling. She also has backstab and feint. Lanigan Krim is our witch. He has Storm Arrow, Lore Master, and Summoning. I think one of those is a 2. I'm missing something on his sheet, clearly. Seldar is our warrior. He was an ex-witch hunter. He's going to have Dominate, Exceptional. I believe that is in Persuasion to help his Dominate. Man-at-Arms, Steel Throw, and Twin Attack. And last but not least, we have Magnolia, who might have my favorite mini. Check that out. She is our Ogre Bodyguard. She has Bodyguard. She is also Robust, Berserk, and has Iron Fist 2. If that seems like a lot of abilities for an initial character, it's because she has a couple of burdens, Pariah, and Nightmares. So as our party is going out on the trail, I ask if they are, how they are traveling. And Seldar takes the lead. He says that he wants to be weapons out, eyes open, seeing threats. And everybody else kind of takes his lead. We got Lanigan in the back, Magnolia up behind, Gadramon over here, so they're all going to be vigilant. I have them roll vigilance checks, and everyone fails except for Magnolia. We'll keep that in mind. Now, I left out Mira because her player decided that she was going to be sneaky, so I instead have her roll discreet, and that means that she is going to be running around elsewhere. Once we set up the map, she sees the chest, and I say, okay, you're going to go ahead and be ahead of the party. You're climbing around in the branches. You see a giant owl hole in a tree, and you're going to go for this chest while everybody else is fighting, well, whatever comes up. So let's talk about that. So I am opening up our core rulebook, and yes, this is the core rulebook. It includes a game mastering and bestiary section. And I see this Abor. I think that is a reasonable enemy to come lunging out of the forest to charge down our foes. Now, I see that its resistance is challenging. So as far as balance goes, frankly, I don't care. I want to pick a cool monster for the encounter, and if you want more information on that, you can go see my thoughts in this video. However, we have our full stat block right here, super simple. We have all of our attributes with our modifiers, we'll get to that later. We have a few traits, which are kind of like the monstrous versions of abilities. They are all figured in here on our stats. We do need to know that our quick is 13, which is actually pretty dang high for a big old boar. But let's look at the mini. Now, as is often the case with minis, even though I have a pretty big collection, you're not going to have something specific. I don't have literally a giant forest boar. So I need to pick something that's going to be suitably ferocious to evoke the same feeling that an A-boar might. And, ooh, perfect. Now, there's no initiative rolls in Symbaroum. We just go based off of our quick. I would normally post this to the back of my screen like so, but for the sake of our video, we're going to get it out here next to our map so we can see what's going on. Magnolia has the highest quick, so she is going to get to go first. She passed her vigilance check at the start of the setup, so she is going to notice that the A-boar is charging in. She's not going to be able to do anything against the A-boar yet, but she is going to realize that it is rushing towards the back of the pack because I rolled randomly to see which of the three dudes down here the A-boar was going to hit. And I happened to roll poor Lanigan Krim in the back. Magnolia is the bodyguard, so she is going to rush up to try to help Krim. It is now the A-boar's turn. The A-boar is going to move down and attack Lanigan. We look down here at weapons. We see that it has tusks 10. 10 is the damage. It doesn't have any attribute swaps, so we're just going to use accurate. We don't roll anything as the game master. That is up to the player. So Lanigan's character rolls to see if he can score under his defense value modified by the modifier here. Since our accurate is 10, the modifier is 0. He does not roll well. That means the attack hits. Now, the tusks are going to deal Lanigan 10 damage. He is going to roll armor, which is a d4 for his regular light armor. He rolls a 1, not good. He is going to take 9 damage, which is going to break his pain threshold. This means that Lanigan's player gets to choose. He can either take a free attack from the A-boar, or he can get knocked over. Most players pick getting knocked over. Maybe you can get back up again. The unfortunate thing about being knocked down and this situation is that the A-boar surprised Lanigan. Magnolia was the only one that saw the A-boar coming. So, as a surprise round, the A-boar gets a free attack anyway. Now that Lanigan is on the ground, it gets to attack with advantage. It's going to have a +2 modifier on its roll, which means that Lanigan has a -2 modifier inversely on his defense. And we're going to get a d4 of extra damage, so we'll just call that a 2 for the A-boar. So now Lanigan is in a rough spot. He's going to have to roll defense again, and he's going to get something not very good. He doesn't have a high quick. He rolls armor again, and it doesn't really matter. Wow, that's a 1 anyway. He is going to take enough damage to reduce his toughness to 0, and he is now dying. Back in the turn order, we have Gadramon. Gadramon is spooked by what's going on. He already had his bow drawn. He is going to simply move back, and he is going to take a shot at the A-boar. We see that the A-boar has a defense of +1. It's actually easier to hit. So all Gadramon has to do is break his own accurate stat in order to hit. He's going to roll well, and he's going to roll damage. Let's say that Gadramon got an 8 on this attack. Okay, not bad. He gets a d10 from his marksman ability. We go check out the A-boar, and we see that its armor, Swineskin 7. That means it has 7 damage reduction. That means only 1 damage got through. So we look down at its toughness. Its toughness is 15. It's now at 14. So Gadramon has only managed to put a scratch on our giant boar. And now it's Seldar time. Seldar was at the front of the pack, failed a vigilance check, and was stepping onto the broken section of bridge. So I ask for a quick test. He is going to fail his quick test, which means that the jury-rigged repair breaks, he falls into the creek, and we see that somebody put down this magical riptide. So I describe a purple light coming from below that is pulling Seldar into the depths, risking drowning. So he is now going to have to roll a strong test to avoid this. He passes, he gets up. That took his combat action. He is now going to use his movement to get himself up, re-equip his weapons, and look at what's going on, that Lanigan is down on the ground. Time for Mira, who is away from the rest of the pack. She decides that she is going to look around for any traps. So she rolls Vigilance and gets a nat 20, which is a bad thing in a roll under system like Symbaroum. So, like a good player, they move on ahead, pretending that there's nothing there, and surely enough, there is a mechanical trap. She has to dodge the mechanical trap with a quick test, which is much better. So she is not hit by the trap. She spent one movement. She's going to spend her combat action to work on the chest, which actually doesn't have a lock on it. So she's going to open it up. She's going to see that it has a lynx mask, as well as a couple of bone stilettos crossing each other. She goes ahead and uses her combat action to grab the mask and carefully start looking at the two daggers when she notices that there is some kind of, how did I describe this? Some kind of sapling, some kind of sprout growing up from underneath the two daggers at the false bottom of the chest. So she knows there is a trap and she is going to try to deal with it, but that's going to be next turn. And now it's time for Lanigan Krim. Poor guy didn't even get to fire up his mystical powers. He just got one shot and he is now dying. So for dying, we make a simple d20 test. The death test results are shown here. We want to roll low, as always. Lanigan rolls high. He is one step out of 3 closer to death. So we're on round 2, and it's time for Magnolia. Magnolia has a lot going on here. She is going to attack the Abor. She is going to get a pretty good roll. She is rolling against her strong rather than her accurate because of Iron Fist 1. Now it's time for damage. She has a two-handed axe, which is going to be a heavy weapon. It's not anything special, it's just a heavy weapon. It does a d10. So we're going to get a d10 ready. Let's say she rolls middling on that, like a 5, okay? But she has other abilities. Robust, special to the ogre, is going to give her a d4 of damage. Also, Iron Fist 2 is going to give her a d4 of damage. And finally, she is Berserk, giving her a d6 of damage. So, she is going to deal 5 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1. She's going to deal 10 damage to the Abor, which should seem like a lot, but the Abor has 7 armor. That means that only 3 damage is going to get through, and now Magnolia knows that she might be in trouble. Time for the Abor again. The Abor is going to go ahead and turn his attention over to the big threat, Magnolia. He's going to make an attack. Magnolia rolls defense, which is much harder when she is going berserk. This is going full offense, going full reckless. She is going to fail her defense check. She rolls armor and gets a 2. The Abor deals 10 damage, so she takes 8, which breaks her pain threshold, meaning the player has a choice. They can take an extra attack, or they can go down. The player decides that Magnolia would not go down. They have to protect Krim. So they take the free attack. It does not go well for them. They roll even worse on their armor. And now Magnolia, the unstoppable ogre, goes down to 0 toughness. Scadramon's turn. He's in a good position. He is going to call out to Mira and Seldar to come help because 2 of their companions are down. You can always talk on your turn. I feel like some players forget that. He is going to make another shot. Unfortunately, this one is going to miss. Time for Seldar. His move is going to be to rush to the Abor. His combat action will be to attack. He has twin attack and dominate, so he is going to make 2 attack rolls against his persuasive. He gets both attacks. He rolls damage, one with a d8, one with a d6. He happens to have a deep impact sword that he got from his witch hunter enemy last session. So this is 7 plus 1, 8 damage. This is 3 damage. 3 damage doesn't get through on the Abor. The 8 damage does get through, but only 1. All of that, 2 attacks, and the Abor has taken 1 toughness. And now it's time for whatever Mira's going on. She sees that there is some kind of poisonous sprout coming up from the bottom of the chest. She is going to try to grab her dagger and pry away the other two stiletto daggers that are fancy that she really wants. She succeeds on that cunning check to be able to do this. She grabs the two daggers, no trap is sprung, and she is going to dance over the sprung bear trap and use her movement to move down the tree. This is going to be difficult, so I ask for a quick test, which she succeeds on. Very nice. So she is at the bottom of the tree and sees all the carnage going on, but can't do anything about it yet. And it's time for Krim, who is rolling another death check. Oh, buddy, that's not good. And it's time for Magnolia with her first death check. Oh no, I'm gonna kill a character this session. And now we're back to the Abor, and I have to kind of consider the monster's tactics going on. The monster doesn't have to kill everything in its path. The Abor probably just wanted to mark its territory and take out a big threat. He's done that, and now he's going to drag back some food. So he is going to ignore Seldar. He is going to spend his movement or his combat action to grab hold of Magnolia, who can't resist, and he is going to spend his movement to drag her away. This means that Seldar gets some free attacks, which, again, he's going to get really good at. Let's give him some good rolls. And his damage will be really good, too. Let's give him great damage. Cool, so his short sword does 6. That doesn't get through the 7 hide. Womp womp. The big deep impact sword will get an 8 plus 1, so that's 9. So he gets 2 damage in. So we are whittling down the Abor. Something is happening, but if more doesn't happen soon, the Abor is going to drag Magnolia away with no hope for survival. All right, Gadramon, what you got? What you gonna do? You're gonna fire your arrow one more time, but this time he thinks about the vaguely magical fire that is next to him. He says he is going to spend his movement to dip the arrow in the flame, and then he's going to take his shot. I love this. I want to reward this. So when he rolls his attack, he's going to get a natural 1. Now, there's no critical hit rule in Symbaroum unless you're playing with alternate rules, which I might get to in some video. He's going to roll his damage, and I give him an extra d4 for the magical flame. He rolls a 9, he gets a 4, that's 13. That is going to break well over the Abor's 7 hide, which means it takes 6 damage, which is enough to finally bring it to 0. The Abor doesn't get death saves, it just goes down, and the day might be saved, but we are still in combat turns because 2 of our characters are still dying. Time for Seldar to go. He assesses the situation, determines that Krim is in more danger. He is going to pull out an herbal cure and apply it to an ally as a combat action. This is going to instantly give Krim 1 toughness, meaning his life is saved. Magnolia is still in the balance. Time for Mira. That means that she is going to take a movement action to try to get over to everything that's been going on without her while she's been getting fat loot. She is going to dive into the water and swim, meaning I need a strong check, which she is going to succeed at. Good for her. She is going to spend her second move to get over to the situation and see her dying friends. Or I should say dying friend, Magnolia. Krim is at the moment saved. Back to Krim. He doesn't really have to do anything. He is going to go ahead and stand up, and everything is clear for him. There's not much for him to do. I feel bad that the player didn't really get to do anything this combat, but brutal stuff can happen in a game like this. That is why I started the combat with a random roll to see who I would attack, because I do not have it in me to be that mean and pick out one of my player characters. Well, at least in session 2. By the time we get around to session 5, I don't know, somebody might have their eye on Gadramon, our hero boy here. But Krim is just going to spend his turn talking, bewildered, trying to figure out what the hell was happening and how Magnolia possibly could have gotten down. Time for Magnolia. Death save. Oh no. We skip the Abor. It's dead now. We go to Gadramon. Gadramon is well-rounded. He has marksman abilities, but he is also going to move up with his movement. It doesn't matter how far away that is in Symbaroum. You just say, I want to go from point A to point B, and it happens. And he's going to use Lay on Hands on Magnolia. The day is saved, the Abor has been defeated, and we are out of combat order, just as several javelins are thrown from the surrounding woods. A barbarian climbs atop the Abor, and 4 others emerge from the trees. But that is another story. You can watch my other Symbaroum videos. I have a kitchen table to clean. I hope you have a nat one day. Bye-bye.